For millennia, ancient pharaohs prospered from unparalleled riches made possible by Egypt's resource-rich gold deposits. But despite this rich history, modern Egypt remains one of the most underdeveloped gold mining countries in the world, but that's all about to change. Oren Resources is leading the charge on the Egyptian mining revival. As the only public exploration company in Egypt, Oren Resources has first-mover advantage. Focused on their 100% owned Abu Marawat concession, Oren Resources is advancing several exploration targets, including the recent discovery of the legendary Lost Mountain of Gold at Rod Ruin. Learn more about this exciting drill program and other news at atonresources.com. Aton trades on the TSXV under the ticker symbol AAN and on the OTC under the ticker ANLBF.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz, and today is August 1st. I'm here in Vancouver at the Sprott Resource Investment Conference. A really nice turnout. Everybody's psyched. Price of gold right now is up over $20 the ounce today after getting slammed down yesterday after the rate cut. The dollar is up. Gold is up. Hey, what could be wrong with the world? Silver is flat, but it was down over 10 cents the ounce earlier in the day. So something's going on, but we don't know what. But we do know that these silver miners, well-placed ones, really can provide amazing opportunities. And I'm here with Jim McDonald, President, CEO of Kootenay Silver. And you can find out more about them. Simple matter. Just go to kootenaysilver.com, TNAY silver.com. Symbol on the venture exchange is KTN. On the NASDAQ, it's KOOYF. So, Jim, welcome to the show here. You got an interesting story to tell about Kootenay. Just briefly tell us about you, how long you've been doing the mining gig, what got you into it.
Yeah, hi, Kerry. Yeah. Well, how long? Long time.
Well, you could give I don't want to date you. We don't want to carbon date you here. But, you've been doing it for a number of decades. And how'd you get into mining?
Well, I got into mining almost by accident. I was going to university and I kind of had my sights on going into the coal industry or the oil and gas industry. And we had the big energy collapse in the early 1980s. Suddenly there was no work in Canada in those industries. And I ended up getting a job in mining exploration, a summer job as a student. And I loved it and I stayed there.
And so fast forward, here we are, 2019. We've had some really down years in silver, but here you find yourself in the silver sector. We've seen the price of silver break $16 recently. It was down in the high 14s just a month and a half ago. So got to be a little encouraging from your standpoint.
Yeah, well, that's very encouraging. I mean, we saw gold break its long, almost 6-year down cycle actually in early 2016. Silver never really turned. It was bottoming out, sliding sideways. And now finally we're seeing that reaction in silver as well. So, these metals are cyclical. There's a lot of macro reasons for the precious metals to be going up, and we're finally seeing them respond. So we're in a good place as far as timing is right now, we believe.
Yeah, well, it looks like the worm has turned, perhaps. We can only hope. Yeah, 6 years of virtually no movement, no meaningful movement in a commodity. At some point it's got to break out. So how is Kootenay positioned to take advantage to exploit the coming potential breakout of silver? Yeah,
so we've been exploring for quite a number of years. We've made 3 different silver discoveries, deposits in Mexico, and we have quite a large inventory and resource base, over 144 million ounces measured indicated silver equivalency in 2 different deposits and a third deposit with no estimate yet. So it gives those ounces give a lot of leverage to the price of silver. The last time silver was over $20, our market cap was 3 times what it is now, just based on that silver price. Since then, we've added value to our properties with additional drilling. We can see expansion happening on the La Cigarra project we have in Chihuahua. And last year, we acquired 2 brand new exciting properties. They're high-grade vein-hosted silver projects that have never been drilled. We're currently drilling one right now. We're about 7 or 8 holes into the program. There's historic work and mining on that property that indicates real strong values, 600,000 gram per ton range. And we're looking to confirm that. This is in a flooded mine, so we can't access it, the old mine workings, to verify those numbers, but we're drilling to verify that. And if we can replicate those kind of numbers, we'll be onto a real exciting new discovery of high grade in a rising silver market.
Yeah, and that's a very rich grade there, 600 to 1,000 or higher. I mean, that's some of the best deposits in the world.
Yeah, those are great grades, and we really hope we're going to be replicating them. And with those kind of grades, the deposits tend to be economic at almost any kind of silver price. And this is why we started to shift our focus 2 years ago into looking for opportunities where we could make discoveries with that strong grade.
Yeah, and that's a great thing. Yeah, when you got a grade, and I assume there's good infrastructure in the area, so you're not having to bring everything in.
Yeah, in these areas, this particular property called Columba that we're drilling now is really well situated. It's just off a major highway in northern Mexico and Chihuahua State. It takes about a 25-minute drive on a mountain road that we put in off of the highway. So great. Yeah, the infrastructure it's quite easy. It's well situated.
Yeah. And like you said, with that kind of grade, it's pretty much economical at any price. But obviously, the more silver goes up, higher it goes. The costs are going to remain relatively fixed. You do have some variable energy costs, which have been down. But the leverage that you're going to get from a rising silver price, you might very well exceed your former market cap by many, many multiples.
Well, that's quite possible, and that depends on two things: the silver price, how far and strong it goes, and on these drilling results. If we are successful in finding a brand new high grade deposit or deposits on this property, then we're going to see a lot of value added very quickly to our company.
And briefly, just touching upon the macro market for silver. So we see industrial uses, commercial uses still increasing, medical uses, it's increasing on all front. The main user, if you will, or accumulator of silver, the investment demand, is really what we've seen crash over the past 6 years. The actual industrial demand for the metal is higher than ever.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. And silver is known as poor man's gold, and it always follows gold, and gold always goes first. And everybody looks at the silver to gold ratio, and we're at historic highs, meaning relative to the gold price, silver is cheaper than it's ever been. And things always regress back to the mean. But when you look at that ratio, there is really no mean. It's a very erratic pattern where the silver gold ratio shoots way up, and then it shoots way down. And when it shoots way down, silver price really outperforms gold. And so we're at that period of time where the silver price is poised to do exactly that.
Yeah, well, hey, we wish you the best of luck. So, hey, if you want to find out more information about the company, go to the website. Hey, if you want to ask Jim a question, just click the contact tab there and send it. Jim will get the question. It's kootenaysilver.com. That's KOOTNAY silver.com. And Jim, wish you the best of luck. Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Kerry. Really appreciate that.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Today's show is brought to you by U.S. Gold Corp. U.S. Gold Corp is a U.S.-focused gold exploration and development company advancing high-potential projects in Wyoming and Nevada. U.S. Gold Corp has consolidated a district on Nevada's productive Cortex trend and is advancing the Copper King project towards production in Wyoming, led by a team of prolific company builders and renowned explorers, including Dave Mathewson, who is directly responsible for several major Nevada gold discoveries. U.S. Gold Corp is well-capitalized and has an extremely tight share structure with less than 20 million million shares outstanding and trades on the NASDAQ, a major exchange under the ticker symbol USAU. To learn more, go to usgoldcorp.gold. That's usgoldcorp.gold.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz, and I'm in Vancouver at the Sprott Resource Conference. And, well, there's a lot of interesting companies here. You really see a resurgence in the resource sector. Higher prices will cure a lot of problems, that's for sure. And with me is Daniel Major. Daniel, you're CEO of GoVX Uranium, and you've got an interesting company there.
Yeah, we're an Africa-focused uranium development company. We've been around since 2007. We've got a very large mineral resource, but the key for us is actually 2 of our projects are already mine permitted. We believe in the fundamentals of the uranium market, so our whole strategy is what can we do to bring the incentive price required to get our first project away. That is all on technical change to the project, the way we structure the contracts, everything. That is our focus. We want to get the first mover advantage. Why is that interesting for investors? Because in the last cycle, the 2 companies that outperformed all other companies were the 2 that went from being developers to being producers.
Pretty good. So what's your resource look like?
We're sitting with a total of about 260 million pounds of uranium in the ground. About half of that is in Madahuela. One thing I'll point out, for example, in Madahuela, we turned our drill rigs off in 2013 because we were well over 100 million pounds. We could double our resources without trying very hard in all these properties. We're looking at a $24 cash cost at the moment in Madahuela, about a $360 million build. Our strategy is trying to bring both the operating and capital costs down by at least 10% each.
So, no other business, we were talking about this earlier, presents challenges like the mining industry. So your challenge now is lower costs and lower CapEx. How do you do that?
You go back to the principles. I mean, as you go through a feasibility study, you're always looking at what worked, what didn't. Optimization, you go back to the big issues. When 2/3 of your capital is in the process plant, if you want to save capital, you've got to change the way you design that process plant. The same as your operating cost. Our biggest functioning cost was acid. How do I get rid of acid? I'll reduce the consumption of acid. So you hit the big tickets first. There's a lot of technology out there. Some of it's old and we've never looked, but you're learning all the time. So effectively, just never stop asking questions. And then, try out the ones that work. And then if they go on a step.
Okay. So Daniel, you're a mining engineer. You've been at this a long time, for decades now. And challenge-wise, where you see yourself now, did you ever, when you were younger, expect to be in this position?
I don't know. No, I mean, is the answer to that question. I started in the uranium industry back in '87. Uranium price went to $8 a pound. I went into the platinum industry. I've been in the gold industry. I came back to this one. Even in 2012, I thought the uranium market back then was going to turn around fairly swiftly. It hasn't. But you just take what you're thrown and you deal with it the best you can. You add value. And we've done that all the way through this project.
So obviously other people probably would have given up at this point, but yet you keep pushing. Right now uranium's at $26 a pound, so you're nominally profitable. If you can bring the CapEx down and your all-in sustained cost, obviously the profits will go up, but to some extent your fate rests upon conditions that you have no control over. The uranium market.
Absolutely right. But I think what we've seen is a resurgence in nuclear over the last 36 months. I mean, when you had post-Fukushima, everyone was just like doom and gloom. But there's an increasing realization around the world that you have to have nuclear as a baseline in there. Countries that were negative before are turning out. Even here in the US, for example, Utah passed a law just a couple of days ago, realizing you've got to keep the nuclear fleet in, life extensions. You've got China, India building. That is a key driver. So we've gone through a lot of the negativity, and at the same time, nothing's really happened on the supply side other than constraint. Metals correct themselves all the time. You just got to wait it out and do what you can in between.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, is you have to take the longer view. You mentioned politicians dealing with reality. Governor Cuomo of New York State, my former home state, ran on a platform he was going to shut down Indian Point, which is responsible for 20% of New York City's power. And, well, that might have been nice in theory because it is an older plant. It has had its issues. Although overall extremely safe, the reality is, it's 8-10 years later, this guy has been governor. He hasn't shut it down yet.
Well, exactly right. I mean, and this is always what happens. People come up with these loud exclamations and then suddenly realize life's actually a lot more complex than it looks. And I think that's one of the points I was saying to investors when they were looking at Section 232. I said, you've got the one side with the miners and the other side, he said, you've got to look at the whole picture that's going on here. And part of this is a geopolitical problem. The US is losing ground to China and Russia on the global market. That has to be taken into account. So yes, people come with a very tunnel vision view on things occasionally and realize there's actually a really big picture problem that you've got to deal with.
Okay, so going back to GoVX, what's next on your plate? What's your biggest priority right now?
Our biggest priority is really that feasibility study, completion of the technical work that's required to do what I can, because once I do that, we go back to the banks we're already engaged with for the lending, show them the revised plan. We'll be then working with the long-term off-takers because down to credibility of what you can achieve. We're looking at a sort of 12-month window to be able to pull the trigger on build and then 2 years to build it. So, it's all very doable. Just got to get the foundations right, and that's what we're working on now.
Hey, what's the nature of the resource? Just tell us the grade and subsurface, where we're at.
The Matajuela is at 0.14%. It starts as an open pit, then goes underground. A lot of exploration upside. We'll probably add some more open pit on it. It's very simple, easy to recover, straight acid leach. Very simple deposit.
That's what we like to hear, simple deposits. Well, hey, if you want to know more about it, just go over to govx.com. That's goviex.com. All the information's there, and send Daniel an email if you want. Just click the contact there, and he'll answer any questions. Thanks so much, Daniel.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Financial Survival Network is brought to you today by Oren Resources, a junior exploration company with the appetite of a major. It's hot on the trail of the next globally significant discovery, creating enormous potential upside for you, the shareholder. Oren is one of the most aggressive exploration companies pursuing high-grade, scalable gold and copper deposits, and has a premier 7-project portfolio, including its 2 flagships, Committee Bay in the Arctic and Sombrero in Peru. Oren's unparalleled technical team and highly experienced management has a history of success in advancing and monetizing exploration assets. No wonder Oren's been called one of the best in the junior exploration sector. Oren trades on the TSX and the NYSE under AUG. To learn more, go to orenresources.com. That's AURYN resources.com.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. I'm here at the Sprott Resource Conference, and a lot of interesting companies here as always. Companies you'd never find anywhere else, or it would be hard to, but they really stand out here. And I've got Richard Spencer with me, President and Director of Rania Resources Limited. And if you want to find out more about them, just go over to www.orania.com and check out their website. And Richard, it's interesting times. So you have a project in Ecuador.
That's correct. It's quite a fascinating story because it was initially started with a hunt for 2 cities that were, and when we talk about cities, they were old Spanish palisade forts, and there's a map from the late 1500s that shows the location of those 2 gold mining centers. The concessions were taken up over that area, and so we are searching for those so-called lost cities. They were old gold mines, but at the same time we're doing modern exploration through this area that hasn't been explored subsequent to the Spanish being there 400 years ago.
Interesting. So you're looking for the lost gold cities, which are legendary. So you're kind of chasing a myth, but now you're using modern technology to prove it.
That's absolutely right. I mean, we would expect the gold that was produced by the Spanish to be a particular kind of gold deposit called an epithermal, of which there's been a modern discovery just downtrend from us. In fact, our chairman and CEO his team discovered that deposit called Fruta del Norte, and that's being developed into a gold mine right now. And we're just looking for the old mining areas, but additional areas as well. While we're out there, obviously we're looking for any other metals that are in the area, and we've had a lot of luck with copper and silver too.
So you think this has district-wide potential?
Absolutely, yeah. It's a project area that's about almost 100 kilometers in length, about 60 miles in length, and there's absolutely no doubt that it's got multi-project and multi-commodity potential.
Wow, and totally undiscovered, except for sometime in the medieval times, almost. And so challenges working in Ecuador.
Actually, the environment there is pretty comfortable. It's a good place to work. The government is absolutely motivated to bring responsible resource development on stream. They, like any government in the world, need resources. They need income, and their borrowing is at an all-time high at the moment, and they're responsible enough to and they're responsible enough to recognize that that's got to be brought down. So they're looking at any part of the economy that, with a little bit of stimulus, can generate a lot of revenue, and mining certainly is one of those areas. So there are two mines that are being developed at the moment that form part of this sort of renewal of mining in Ecuador and under the new sort of environment there.
Very interesting. And sounds exciting. So your team that you put together to exploit this project, this potential resource, tell me about it.
Well, Keith Barron, the chairman and CEO, his team discovered a very big gold deposit just contiguous to our area. I spent a lot of time in that area in the mid-90s, and our team discovered a couple of porphyry copper deposits. And so both of us have got an enormous amount of exploration depth and good success in Ecuador. And so it's good to be back there. The same techniques that we used to make those gold and copper discoveries, we're using exactly the same techniques in this new area.
That's great. So what kind of work, exploration activities taken place so far?
We've done geophysics over the whole area, and a heliborne program generated some really, really interesting information. And basically what we're doing now is just blanket coverage, moving up the streams, taking stream sediment samples, and it's a very simple technique. You just collect the silt in the streams, but basically that silt, if there's any metal within that drainage basin, it's going to show up in that little 2-pound sample that you take. So it's a very, very efficient exploration tool, and we're about halfway through the blanket coverage of the whole concession area with that.
Oh, that's pretty neat, and it's really virgin territory. It hasn't been, well, not since the Middle Ages, since the conquistadors came to South America. This has been all but forgotten.
It is, and the copper that we're finding at surface, copper, there it occurs as these bright green rocks, and anyone who had been walking there would have seen it. So that's the advantage of being the first modern group into that area. We're seeing this stuff lying around its surface.
You done any satellite imaging of the property?
Yes, we have. We use satellite imagery a lot, and there's some other satellite techniques that we'll probably get involved with over the next couple of months as well.
Very cool. So nice Ecuador, you don't worry about drilling seasons. It doesn't get cold, so you can do this all year round. What's next?
Drilling. So we've got man-portable rigs that we use a contractor for. We have 17 gold targets. We've drilled one of them. No dramatic success on that first one, but we learned a lot from that, and we're moving on to the second, and we'll move on to the third and fourth and fifth gold targets. At the same time, though, this copper and silver that's come out of the blue, it wasn't something that we were expecting to find in that particular area. That's a bonus, and we're trying to raise some cash to bring a second rig into the area. So we'll have one concentrating on the gold and one on the copper silver.
Well, it's nice when life sends you those pleasant little surprises. Doesn't happen that often. Well, Richard, wish you the best of luck, and hey, we'll check in with you again and see how things are going later.
Great, Kurt. Thanks very much for having me.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.